Is this a metal thing?
Yes.
Little taste.
David! David! David, what is this?
It's pretty big.
Break.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is butt country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo being pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew!
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror!
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've now transcended genre boundaries and are sometimes covering other movies outside of the horror genre. The boundary fences on the perimeter of our Jurassic Park have been fully breached, which means you get to hear our opinions on movies that are horror and movies that are hilarious, sad, or funny. The full range of male emotions.
For the record, this one is a horror movie. Monster movies count.
I'm getting there, Bryce.
Sorry.
You have to interrupt. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make me rhyme right now. Make sure to share. Also, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk, the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. If you want to add your P to the community pool, go ahead and just, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm me, and across from me sits Bryce Henson.
That's me. That's my name. I'm Bryce Hanson.
He is, I can confirm. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be reviewing, I don't know, you may have heard of it. This little ditty called Jurassic Park goes by JP. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, get into spoilers, take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about Jurassic Park. Later, we'll be doing a new game called Let's Test Your Dino DNA, where I will test Bryce's knowledge of dinosaurs and your knowledge. You can play along in your car, at home, or in bed.
You got to say it with a southern accent, though.
Dino DNA. Hey, you know what? Actually, it's funny that I mention the patrons because they picked this movie for us to review. Came down to the wire. There was a tie between this and Shutter Island. We had to pick one. We picked Jurassic Park. And by we, I mean Bryce. So point all of your ire at him. He's 100% responsible. And I'm sorry. I cannot tell a lie. It's just what it is. Also, thanks to our new patrons, Beatrice, Amanda M., Darren P., and I think that covers it. So y'all are the wind beneath my wings. I love you. You're lucky if you get to vote on a movie a month, and you voted on Jurassic Park. Okay, so as I was saying, Jurassic Park is what we reviewed, and right now you can rent it basically anywhere you want on the internet. I, of course, own it on, I own it on YouTube. It used to be Google Play. Now they've mashed that on into YouTube, so you got to figure out where your digital content is. It's almost like they want you to buy it again and again. The synopsis for this movie goes, I can't believe I have to do the synopsis for Jurassic Park, but here we go. As a theme park nears its public go-live date, do you think they called it go-live back in 93? A team of scientists comprised of Grant, played by Sam Neill, Ellie, played by Laura Dern, and Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, are assembled to assess concerns that the park might fly in the face of nature and God. Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough, the park owner and Dreamcatcher, believes in his creation with such veracity that he sends his own grandchildren on the guided tour along with the crew of scientists to tour the park, to test run the park. Despite knowing full well that a tropical storm is approaching the island, Hammond gives the go-ahead to start the tour with his grandkids on board and sends his first test subjects into the fold of Jurassic Park. Surprisingly, very surprisingly, things do not go well, even though they've thought of and prepared for all possible contingencies, because life finds a way. Everyone gets more dino DNA than they bargained for.
It's because of chaos.
Chaos. That dang theory. It's just a theory.
Chaos theory.
Yeah, I mean, everything's just a theory, technically. My review for Jurassic Park goes a little something like, Jurassic Park is one of the most important
movies ever made.
Every part of it is unique and interesting. The movie is based on a book by Michael Crichton, who I believe stole the idea, and I will say this loud and proud. I believe Michael Crichton stole this idea from another book series called Dinosaur World. We will talk about that in the spoilers section of the podcast. Directed by Steven Spielberg and with 6 minutes of computer-animated special effects by Industrial Light and Magic, Jurassic Park rocked the world upon its release. People had never seen such convincing special effects. The fact that the computer effects were married with 9 minutes of animatronic effects of dinosaurs had everyone on their heels. It was hard to tell what was real and what was computer-generated. It still is. It holds up remarkably well. Apart from the spectacle of the VFX, that stands for visual effects, Jurassic Park presents a smorgasbord of amazing set pieces and tense scenarios that take you out of your chair and transport you to Isla Nublar, off the coast of Costa Rica. It doesn't have one bad guy. It has tons. Some with huge teeth, others can spit toxic goop in your face, and one has an obsession with the magic word. More than anything, it plays on man's return to the forest primeval, a place where we are no longer in control at the top of the food chain. Jurassic Park asks the question, is science inherently good? And answers it with, science is only a tool. It's up to those who wield it to use good judgment, and many times they don't. The John Williams score is as iconic as, other Steven Spielberg movies with world classic scores like Jaws. Jurassic Park is like that song, Hey Ya, by Outkast. When it comes on, everyone is having a great time no matter what. This is just the best. I'm going to do something I've never done before, Bryce. This is although you might have done this before. I don't know. I'm going to say this is a HMT first. And I'm going to leave it to the audience to prove me wrong. I'm giving this an 11 out of 10. That's right. We're breaking boundaries today.
That's not allowed. You can't do that.
I did it. I did it on air. It's done.
Wow. I'm so distracted because I'm looking up Dinosaur World Series, and all I see is like a series of relatively porn-looking books from 2020.
Oh, yeah, no, these were 84, I believe, was a lot. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. No, you're looking for Joffrey T. Williams is who you're looking for. These were, we'll go into it in the spoilers. What do you think about Jurassic Park?
Yeah, so I see it's a total ripoff.
What do you think of Jurassic Park? That wasn't it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest movies of all time, so it's great. And it was like formative when I watched it. It's one of those movie experiences where it's like, I don't know how they did this, and I just watched actual dinosaurs interact with humans. Like that, I have no other explanation other than that's what just happened. and it's a seminal moment in movie magic. But also, it's Steven Spielberg doing what he does best, which is just be a craftsman at storytelling and just having amazing visuals. Like, every scene is iconic in this movie. Like, every shot counts. Like, we were watching it last night, and just like literally almost every shot I can recall. Like, the water vibrating in the footprint, or the foot coming down and mushing into the mud, or just a look on the face that's getting a reaction of people looking at the dinosaur. It's like just throughout the whole thing, and it's super engaging for being 2 hours. Like, there's a lot that happens, and I was a huge fan of the book. I read the book after. I can't remember if I read it. I must have read it after the movie, because I wasn't disappointed in the movie. But the book's amazing. It's one of those few that I've read several times, and every time, like, this book is awesome. It's way better than the movie too, in terms of like the story and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's really? Easy 10 out of 10.
11. Really, the book is that spectacular, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it goes in. It's less like. It's more interesting, I'd say. Like, it's. I mean, this is definitely a family-friendly, general audiences movie, Spielberg movie, which isn't saying anything bad, but it's kind of dumbed down a little bit, simplified a lot, and in the book it's much more complex characters, and like more stuff happens to the characters in terms of dying. That was one of my beefs with like The Lost World, because the book Lost World is my ultimate example of a cash grab, which is they just ignored the first book. They're like, it's a sequel to the movie apparently, and they don't even like make any mention of it. They don't like make any
Okay, so you're saying The Lost World, the book, is a sequel to the movie.
Basically, yeah.
Weird.
Because it's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure in the book, Ian Malcolm dies. Or there's several people in the book that die that don't die in the movie. And in the book, The Lost World, he's just alive again, and he's like the main character in the story. You're like, wait, but what? Like, how is that possible? It might be John Hammond. I know that John Hammond died in the book. That's a like really important scene. That scene in the book mirrors Dennis Nedry's death in terms of hubris and not understanding the danger. So I know John Hammond dies, and I'm pretty sure he's in the sequels in the books, but I can't remember. But that and Lost World, the book was just terrible. But Jurassic Park, the book, and this movie are iconic to me. And yeah, I think John Williams this is one of his best scores, and everything comes together. Yeah. I mean, and the special effects are so good that even today, it's bonkers. Even today, it's like it's bonkers. Like, the only part that's like, I see it. I see that's not a real dinosaur is when they're out in the daylight.
Wait a minute, they didn't really clone dinosaurs.
And even then,
which moment?
Like, I mean, anything in the daylight. So, like, the scene where, like, the stampede scene, or the brachiosaur scene, like the opening, like when they
Yeah.
first see the dinosaurs, those are a little like the light slightly off, or it's not detailed enough for the daylight to be convincing. But even then, I can't think of a movie that did it as good until the Phantom Menace, which came out like 7 years later or something.
Oh, and by the way, no. No. Okay, so interesting. I watch Jurassic Park all the time. All the time. I've watched this movie more than I've seen any other movie ever. Like, this is my top number one most watched movie. And I just watched Phantom Menace last month. It is dog shit. Dog shit compared to this. It's like a dog took a shit on your floor and then stepped all over it. Like, it's not even. And you know, like this is I say this is one of the most important movies in all of history, because without this movie, like, this soundstage movie that is all that exists now, the MCU and like every action movie ever for the last 30 years just don't exist. This changed the course of movie making single-handedly. Now it's all green screens. Unfortunately, it went too far. You know, Jurassic Park used 6 minutes of CGI, married with 9 minutes of animatronics and practical effects. Not the other way around. Like, it was 1/3, CGI, 2/3 practical, and the practical was bitchin'. Like, it was pretty good. Anyway, now everything is CGI, and it's just all it's all underwhelming in that it's so overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, this is like an example of like when things are harder, you get a better, like when you're forced to work around the limitations, and you find what works best. It usually ends up being better than the thing that you say, like, oh, you can do anything. You know, look at the opening sequence to Clone Wars, and you're like, okay, just because
you can, doesn't mean you should.
They're so concerned about whether they could, they didn't stop to think of the should.
Full circle.
And this movie, like, the limitations of the CGI of, like, literally the T-Rex scene, I think, took days to process. Like, the CG, model of the T-Rex. So, like, you're limited by just resources, at a certain point. And then marrying that up with practical effects and, like, very, very smart camera movements and, like, shot compositions where it's like, oh, you only need to see an eye here,
right.
Like, you and yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, of course, Steven Spielberg knows how to do it. Like, he worked with his first major movie with Jaws, like, barely showed the shark at all, and he gets it. Like, you don't need to show it. Like, the imagination is the strongest element of movie making.
When it comes to
Champa.
no one does it like Steven Spielberg. Like, he's the best at
Champa.
So if you are listening to these commercials, that must have been annoying, and you must feel like a real tool. Well, you are, but I got good news for you. You can stop being a tool right now. If you head on over to patreon.com/horrormovietalk, you can pay us the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month. You can support this free show that we put on for you, for your entertainment, to get you through the work week with the hustle and bustle and your boss breathing down your neck. But you know what? You got Bryce and David in your ear, and you got even more of us if you head on over there to patreon.com. Just support the show. It's the right thing to do. You know it. That's why I'm guilting you about it, because I am ethically and morally sure of my position. I know that I'm right on this. You can also head on over to the HMT shop, horrormovietalk.com/shop, buy a shirt, buy a sticker, buy a coaster, buy yourself some nice lingerie. And check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, the old DG, the old dick giver. He's a professional artist who fucks hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT Plus fans. So contact him at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. Make all your dreams come true. Tell him we sent you over here at HMT Plus. It's very important. Call us at 682-253-4468. Patrons, let us know how disappointed you are that we're covering Jurassic Park instead of Shutter Island. And do you know Shutter Island's on the radar? I mean, look, maybe it'll win next month. Who knows? Thanks again for listening, and let's get into spoilers.
Run, boy! Run! Run for your life! Boy!
You better, because those dino DNA is coming right at you. About to
Dinosaurs.
DNA. Yeah, so Michael Crichton ripped off the entire premise for Jurassic Park directly from a children's book series by Jeffrey. I don't know. It's one of these weird spellings of Jeffrey where it's Geoffrey. Geoffrey T. Williams, who originally published the first book, Dinosaur World, in 1985. And I listened. Oh, and it's so the Back in the day, we had these things called cassette tapes, and you would place them into a cassette player, and then they would play sounds that came out, much the way you're listening to my voice now, over the digital internet airwaves. But instead, it was just on a little tape that was in your house. And that was how you consumed audiobooks. But audiobooks were confined to the length of a tape. Which was not terribly long. But anyway, Geoffrey T. Williams wrote a bunch of these children's books. I think 4. I own them all. And yeah, that's the first one. And the illustrations get better in the next 3.
Just above the waves, occasionally dipping its giant...
Yeah, that is... Okay, so that's like... my brother fell asleep to that soundtrack of that like forever, and I was very familiar with it as well. The idea is it's a theme park filled with dinosaurs. They don't get into the how. That's more of a Michael Crichton. He was like, how would this happen? But everything else, it's like, oh, don't get close to dinosaurs, and then the guests, they get off the ride, and then bad stuff ensues. Oh no, and you got to run, and you're chased by dinosaurs. Bad scenarios happen, and all of those scenarios are present in in Jurassic Park. Yeah, so I mean, premise-wise, I'm fully convinced, just because it's right before Michael Crichton published his book. Anyway.
Some would say that the idea, Jeffrey T. Williams stole the idea whole cloth from zoos.
Oh, yes. No, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you got to take inspiration where you can find it. But actually, it's interesting. Jeffrey T. Williams sued Michael Crichton over this. I just learned. I had no idea about that until I was like, did Jeffrey T. Williams, was he upset? Yes, he was. And as it turns out, Michael Crichton has a lot more money and therefore a lot more lawyers. So, the courts found that the guy with more money was innocent. It's crazy. It's like, it's almost like justice wasn't done. Anywho, if you haven't checked those out, I play. They have them on Audible. They have the you can find the books for used online, usually on Amazon or like eBay or something like that for $1 or $2, and the books are fabulous. It's great for little kids. It introduces this concept. I was already like in my head about like we go to the zoo to see dinosaurs. And so, yeah, I mean, you got 4 audiobooks. It's great for when you got to put your kids to bed, but you don't want to read, but you know you have to read because you'd be a bad parent if you didn't. So, you know, you get out the book, you press play, and then little dinosaurs come across your children's, your children's thought. I have a lot of little.
Sorry, buddy. The voice said.
It's over. It's yeah. So I don't know. The whole Jeffrey T. Williams debate. Hot is it not? But I thought it was kind of interesting. Look at that little guy. He even closes his mouth. Okay. So anyway, Jurassic Park. Starts off incredibly strong with the loading pen. Okay, so I'm sure you went to see this in theaters as a little kid, right, Bryce?
Yeah, I definitely saw it in theaters. Like I can remember seeing the trailer, which in my mind is the best trailer of all time, or maybe it was probably the teaser, and it's hard to find on the internet.
Yeah,
but
it's the impact.
Yeah, it just shows the glass, the water in the glass, rippling, and the sound, and it just ends with like the foot in the mud, and that's it. And I remember realizing this is like the start of like realizing, movies that show everything in the trailer are going to be bad. Yeah. Because they only have enough good stuff to put in 30 seconds. And the ones that just give you a hint or a taste of what the movie's going to be and get you excited are going to be good. Yeah. Because you go on with like less expectations.
Bryce saw that foot in the mud and he was like,
"Oil me up, Daddy." Thanks, honey. Oil me up, Daddy. It's dinner time, and I'm a little soup boy. Champa champa. Yeah, that's exactly.
Baby. Yeah, he got in there.
But yeah, I mean, I remember the experience in the theater was amazing. Like I feel like an old man just like talking about this, but like I gotta tell you, like it was like nothing you've ever seen before, and one of those movies where it just has everything. It has the humor, it has the heart, it has the jump scares, like that crawling in the vent space or above the ceiling, and the velociraptor jumping through the bottom is like, that is the jump scare that I go to in my mind of like, what can be done? Where it's just like, you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. And then they just barely survive. It's great. Lots of superlatives in this episode, but I mean, it's Jurassic Park.
Okay, so me coming out of this movie theater as a little kid, I would have, if I had the vernacular, I'd have been like, this is dope AF, Mom. Like, so I wasn't allowed, this was second grade for me, which my parents had never let me see anything over PG. And this was PG-13, but it was also dinosaurs. And I was like, I was a dinosaur kid. I was just like, there's this one and he does this and he looks like this. And then there's this one and he does this and he looks like this. And it was just like, it was, you know how little kids are about whatever they're freaked out about, is like, this was it. So I was like, Mom, you gotta let me go. 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 And and she gave in. And one of my friends was going to see it, so his parents said they would take me. And so I got brought, and I had no, like, you know, mom to hold on to. So it was just like, this was like my first and most intense movie going experience of like, this is real shit. And so I just got plopped down, and it was just like bare knuckles, just like I remember every scene of this just being like, shit. It was like a roller coaster ride. It was just like, I can't handle the G's. And it just blew me away. Every scene, it was just overwhelming. It was just a tremendous experience. It kind of set the bar a little too high, because it felt like a peak. You know, it was like, nothing's ever going to reach this. The first time I saw Terminator 2 was pretty close. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't in a theater, and so it didn't have this experience. Anyway, yeah, I mean, the brilliant build up with the loading pen. The very first thing I have written down about this movie is a movie about suspending your disbelief. Constantly, at every turn. If you're going with a real critical eye, everything is wrong. Everything, from the processes of the park employees to the layouts of the sets and set pieces. Like, it's confusing. It doesn't match up. The continuity is wrong. Like, the concept of cloning dinosaurs, maybe actually that might be the least suspension of disbelief part of this movie. Everything else is just like, I mean, why?
I mean, that's the mark of great sci-fi, though, is like taking a general concept and being like, let's just push this a little further into what we know you can't do, but theoretically, what if you could do this? Like the splicing of the frog DNA with the dinosaur DNA. It's like, sure. Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah.
The reason it'd be great if they explained all that and then revealed the dinosaurs, and they just like were giant mutant frog dinosaurs. Like, yeah. T-Rex opened his mouth and just like shot out a sticky tongue to the goat.
T-Rex opens his mouth and he's like,
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
Kids, don't lick the dinosaurs.
How would I ever get close enough to a dinosaur to lick it? Well, you're gonna find out.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I mean, sure, you can break it down. Like, my thing upon rewatching, I'm like, everyone seems to have like intense scientific knowledge outside of their expertise whenever it's convenient, mm-hmm. Where it's,
what do you mean?
Like, I mean,
the hairs on your skin, the slight imperfections, very minute, very minuscule.
I mean, that the chaos theory stuff is just a little weird, and it goes like they delve into it better in the book, but
it's
like
still unclear as to what he does.
But like, Grant and Sattler, like, Grant at different points has expertise about like the digestive system of dinosaurs, or like all these like very, very specific theories. It's like, I don't think you actually know anything about that from just looking at bones. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, there's a lot of like wedging in information for storytelling, and I'll tell you, that's like what this movie does really well. And the thing that I respect most about Steven Spielberg and directors of this caliber, which are very few, which is they're so good at laying the groundwork of the story that it's very easy to see past it. Not just like the tiny elements or information that you'll need to know later, but also the thematic material being represented throughout. So like there's plenty of YouTube videos that like break down all these little, you know, Easter eggs and like moments, but stuff like the very first scene with Grant when he's talking with the little kid, it's like, that doesn't look like it's very scary. It's more like a 6-foot turkey. You little shit.
I hate that kid.
Yeah.
I hate him. To this day, I hate his little face.
I'd love to do a re-edit of just like Grant going up to him, like shaking him, like, listen, you little shit. You're not even supposed to be here.
You're not even supposed to make it past the casting couch, buddy. Bryce.
But like in that scene when he is explaining the menace of the velociraptors, he says like, you know, they can see you even when you don't move. Their vision isn't based on like acuity or movement acuity or something, like a T-Rex. And it's just like little lines like that where it just dropped, where in the moment it sounds like, oh, he knows a lot about dinosaurs. Like, no, that line is specifically to set up later in the film
the T-Rex and the velociraptors.
The T-Rex of not being able to see them if they don't move, which is a thing that, like, obviously a paleontologist would not know.
You don't know that, Bryce. You can. No, what I'm talking about is this first scene where they're loading.
Let me finish. There's a couple other examples.
All
so
right.
There's that one, and then like thematically, when they're in the helicopter flying in, and they're all buckling up, and then Grant has the two female ends of the seat belt.
Yeah, why they got to be female?
And then he, you know, ties it in a knot, which is like a direct like nod to the story element of all the dinosaurs are supposed to be female, but life finds a way.
Whoa, man, you're blowing my mind here.
There's so many little moments like that, and like little information drops that happen in the first act that you are super useful later. It's just, it's great. Okay, go ahead.
What I'm talking about is just constantly I'm just finding fault with, like, you know, I mean, they got 30 guys to load a velociraptor into a pen, and they're pushing this cart up against the pen, and they don't have like two fucking bolts to just put through some eye slots and just like ensure that it doesn't move. Like, we're just gonna open it, and and there's moments like that throughout the movie. I have two dinosaurs here, and this one actually has a butthole. See that? So
is that a pencil sharpener?
We can make it happen. You know? Making dino DNA.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. The iconic line, "Shoot her," happens 2 minutes into this movie. Something like that. Yeah, and then we just get introed into everybody. You get to take a look at the lawyer, and you kind of get introed into the mosquito in the amber, which is like such a cool concept. Like conceptually, I understood it as a second grader. You know, I was like, the mosquitoes.
The mosquito's still there.
Have blood, suck blood, and then die. And then we find and take blood and it make more blood, big system. And it was, you know, it all ding, 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 ding falls into place very well. I mean, you have, you know, oh, by the way, that volunteer boy we hate so much for saying it looked like a big turkey. He was, he was featured prominently in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, I think, the Dream Child kid. A couple of years ago, I went through all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and listen, I mean, they kind of drop off a little bit. So not the most notable, of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. But yeah, he was. When I went through it, I was like, "Oh, I hate that child." I do hate him. I really hate that man. He's such a fucking dick. Oh. Anyway, then we got the John Williams soundtrack. Bryce, say a bit about John Williams, because I know you know things that I don't. But the swell of when you first get your eyes on the brachiosaurs, and they do move in herds, and like, and then that melodica comes in.
Yeah, I mean, John Williams is the Steven Spielberg of movie soundtracks, which is like, he's so obviously the best that it's you're lame if you say that you like him or that he's the best. Mm-hmm. But to me, there's like zero competition.
Yeah,
and it's cool to be like, oh yeah, but like Hans Zimmer and you know, some of these other people, but in terms of iconic themes that you associate with cinema, and not just like the iconic themes, but also basically half the reason why the movie is as iconic as it is. Like, if you took John Williams out of Star Wars, it would just, I'm convinced it would not be half as successful as it was.
It's so important.
Same with Jaws. Same with, you know, like any number of like Indiana Jones. Like, he's integral to the feel and brand, but also the storytelling of the movie. And it's interesting. Me and Aaron watched a documentary on film composers, and they're going over like all these heavy hitter film composers, and we're like,
really?
Are they gonna get to John Williams? And once they did, it was just like everyone that they were like lauding throughout the whole movie, like, you know, Hans Zimmer and, you know, I'm blanking on all the names right now, but like
everyone else,
Danny Elfman and all these people, all of a sudden all those guys are like on there, and they're like, yeah, I mean, John Williams is the best. Like, there's no competition, you know. And I think like Steven Spielberg, when he worked with John Williams on Schindler's List, there's the famous interchange where Spielberg showed Williams the initial cut of Schindler's List, and John Williams was like in tears, and he says like, I'm not good enough to score this. Like, I like, you need someone better. And Spielberg just said, you're right, but they're all dead. So just in terms of film, as an art form, I think that's the other part that isn't appreciated, is that he's so good in the art form of film, and knowing where the music lands inside that, you know, medium. Yeah. That he's the best at that. So, I mean, that's what's frustrating, because sometimes you can take some film compositions that are like, oh, that's cool, and you can play them alone. Like, I think Hans Zimmer is better at, like, I mean, he can go, you know, in concert and play his stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, this is exciting stuff, but it doesn't necessarily help the film as much. Like, it's not, it feels like it's its own entity, and it doesn't. Anyways, I don't know.
Well,
John
I mean,
Williams
yeah,
is awesome.
when you try and compete with this,
to Jurassic Park.
They should have sent a poet, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the score is just amazing, and it's wonderful. The shots of there's so many shots of them approaching the park, getting up to the park, you know, going through the park, but they always include these backdrops or sometimes these lead-in shots of these massive electric fences, and you're just like, what are we preparing for? And that really gives the scale to the whole thing for me. And it's so simple, you know, it's like, in terms of a movie set, it's a pretty easy thing to accomplish, to get some huge wires and string them, you know, horizontally across the thing. But it like, it's just a brilliant move. And I mean, practical too. Like, you really can't. I guess it's an island, but you need to be able to, you know, to delineate, you know, it's like a zoo, you know, you gotta, you need the pens. And these signs are so brilliant. It's so simple. It's such an easy set piece, but it says, you know, like 40,000 volts, and you're like, shit, you know, I don't know anything about electricity, but damn it.
It's got the lightning bolt going through the hand. I should probably not touch that.
Yeah.
It's meant lightning bolt to go through my hand.
And then you see these things, and they're so tiny, and you're like, what's there to be afraid of? But then, you know, you find out.
That's one of those suspension of disbelief things where when they have to climb over the fence and you're like, kids could just definitely climb through the fence. Like, the holes are giant.
Oh yeah. That's one thing. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh, Tim could just fit directly through one of those little squares.
Right.
But no, he don't. But you know, he does get shocked, but life finds a way. And you know what though? This is a good little tiny sidebar rant. Like, everybody, anytime anybody gets shocked, everyone says, "Oh, I got electrocuted. You didn't get electrocuted. That word exists for a specific reason, and it's to describe death by electricity. Like, cution means to kill. So electrocuted is to be killed by electricity. If you get shocked, you got shocked."
Well, I mean, technically Tim got electrocuted because he died.
Did he, though?
They brought him back to life.
Did he? If he's alive, did he die?
If he stopped breathing, his heart stopped. Isn't that death?
I guess it depends on if you're going by man's definition or God's.
So in that case, you can't ever use electrocution because no one's ever really dead.
You can't know the mind of God. We find out that all these dinosaurs are females, as you mentioned before. And Bryce, again, is like...
Oil me up, Daddy. It's dinner time, and I'm a little soup boy. Champa champa.
Yeah, this is a hot singles bar for, you know, any little boy dinosaur. The feeding the velociraptor to a cow is it's like not necessarily necessary, but it blows a little kid away. Like, it's like, what? It's feeding time, and John Hammond acts so goofy in this spot. He's like, it's feeding time.
Right.
And then they drop the cow in, and it's like, this thing will deep fry a buffalo in 45 seconds. And it do, you know? Man, that part it's such a cool moment, because not only does the cow completely gone, and they remove the harness, which is completely torn apart, but also bloodless. That's an impressive thing about this movie is you go in and you go, dang, there's so much violence in this movie. Like, so much violence. But there's like little drops of blood. You know, that's
Yeah.
it. That's all you see in terms of blood.
No, it's crazy. Like when you watch it again, you're like, it's almost comical how PG-13 like it is, because they
It's a
make so many
chameleon.
compromises. Because like when what's his name, the Australian or South African
Oh yeah,
tracker guy.
yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, this is gonna drive me out.
Yeah,
Harding.
Muldoon.
No, Muldoon.
When
Yeah.
Muldoon
Yeah.
is attacked by the Velociraptor, like just a giant fern comes into view, like just right over. It's like the Velociraptor is eating off his face, but all of a sudden, like a giant fern is like, hey, you know what's going on back here?
Yeah, and I mean, but they make it. They fool you. Like
Yeah.
like with the Gallimimus thing, where they run in herds, and then the T-Rex jumps out and grabs it, and little Tim is sitting there from behind the log watching it, and he says, "There's so much blood." I mean, all I came away with was, God damn, look at all that blood. You know, like, because it happened in my head. It was like,
Right.
oh my God, this is so gory and horrible. But it didn't. You never needed to see it, and you don't even realize how little actual violence is shown on screen. It's all just
Yeah.
implied, and it's maybe the most skillful effort in hiding in implied violence. It's the implication, and it's because they got you on an island. You know, it's the implication.
Yeah, you can hide a lot of stuff on an island. If anything is of the last like 5 or so years has taught us.
Yeah.
Like, you can hide violence on an island.
What? Wait, what? What are you referring to? Are you talking about me living on an island?
Yes. What are you getting away with up there, David?
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't like what you're implying. The world building, like this place, I mean, okay. This place, it basically, I mean, it doesn't exist, but in my head, it does. Like the Jurassic Park, I can walk through it. I really wish there were a game. Maybe there is a game. Maybe somebody knows. If there was a game, do you remember? Did you ever play Virtual Springfield? You just got to walk around the town of Springfield in The Simpsons, and you got to see all the things. And that was it. That was the game. It was this old Windows 95 game. I just want that for Jurassic Park. You just get to walk around and look at all the stuff. There's not a lot of like effort or anything like that. It's just the place, because I love the world they've created.
I think one of the things that like stands out to me in terms of like the things that doesn't make sense, or like the suspension of disbelief in terms of the entire movie, is the business model of it just doesn't make sense, because
There could be a coupon day.
because they say like, no, we want everyone to be able to experience Jurassic Park, but the way that you experience it is in a full-on car that has 5 seats max.
Yeah.
Like 2 at a time, slowly rolling down like a road. And I'm just thinking of Disneyland. I'm like, so these people are in a line for all day.
Oh, you're at the wrong, Bryce. I mean, you're right, but you're also at the wrong point of the bottleneck, which is they're on an island that
Right.
has no transportation system set
Right.
up. Like, you have to get here by
So
helicopter.
you'd have to fly in via helicopter like 4 at a time. And John Hammond is like, no, I want everyone in the world to experience this.
This will be great. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you go to Disney World and it's just a land of parking lots. It's like,
So in terms of like crowd management, I didn't see a lot of that happening in the movie. It was literally a park built for 5 people, it seemed.
the world, so you have the trilogy of Park, the Park trilogy, and then you have the World trilogy. The World trilogy really shows a little bit more about the more practical side of.
That sells it as an actual park, and that is actually kind of one of the coolest elements of that is like, oh yeah, it does show. But even then, it's still like you got some little kids rolling around in a ball in the field. It's like, well, how many of those can you do? Like, is there going to be like 100 balls rolling around knocking into gallimimuses,
bumping into dinosaurs? There's just a dinosaur just like, ugh.
You see the dinosaurs like, ah! Ah! Stop!
All the dinosaurs are just fucking like, get these fucking balls away from me. Like, oh man.
Pray for T-Rex.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, yeah. In those balls, I mean, you could find so much stuff to fuck up. You just find like a squirrel to just run over, and you get to watch it go under. You get to see it get squished and be like,
just a blood smear, like.
Yeah, a ball
repeatedly going out over in front of your eyes.
A ball comes back and it just looks like this. It's just red. It's just like, oh shit.
Oh, hey ho! I call it squirrel.
A squirrel. Yeah, it's actually a mink.
It's a mink. Yeah, I mean, but it kind of skirts around all that kind of stuff. Which is, it's not open yet. We don't get to see it in full effect. You don't know. It's like, I don't know. I will say I mean, seeing real dinosaurs and everybody's in the cars and they're getting ported around, and it's exactly how you would think it would be, which is there's no dinosaurs you get to see.
It's just like every zoo experience that I've ever had. It's every
zoo experience. It's like, oh, the bear's eating now. Oh, you know what? The pig's inside. You know what? The porcupine has a shop set up right out of sight that you can just see his butt.
Do you want to see the most majestic, top tier predators in the world? Just the giant cats and giant bears that exist on the globe, put before your very eyes. Look, there's a leopard's ear.
Asleep,
poking up from there. You get to see a leopard's ear poking up from behind a rock,
this
100
cheetah,
feet away.
This cheetah will This cheetah will never move from this spot. You'll visit this zoo once. It'll be in one spot. You'll come back 4 years later. It will not have moved, and you'll be convinced that it is a stuffed cheetah.
Dude, I mean. Zoos,
I love zoos.
That's got to be like the easiest racket. Like, if you want to create a super profitable zoo, just like use Disney animatronics for like a cat's tail. Just have like the lions and tigers, and cheetahs just laying down, and just have like an animatronic that has like them twitch their ear or tail every once in a while.
Oh yeah,
and it'd be like, oh, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, but then, I mean, you do know that there are dinosaurs around, and then you get out of the vehicle. Would you ever, Bryce, in a million years, get out of the vehicle?
Like in that circumstance, maybe. Because listen, it's before it opens. Like you're there for to do due diligence, and you're an expert, in all things dinosaurs, apparently. And you're like, well, fuck this tour. I'm going to go out the door and go look at this Triceratops. Like, that's not crazy to me. It also serves the story, but personally, if it was me in a theme park, no, I wouldn't get out of the vehicle. Like, I think if a ride broke down,
Yeah.
there'd be a certain amount of time where I'd go like, okay, fuck this. I see the walkway there. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I believe I would be the guy that would do that eventually.
There's a real element of this where I'm just like, that there's no way. There's no way they would ever do this, you know? Like, I mean, I would never, like, for sure. I mean, okay, so the things really, but to be fair, things really hit the fan when they get to the T-Rex compound. The willing suspension of disbelief you need, because they do the loop. Maybe it's a loop. Maybe that's why it is, but they go through the T-Rex pen, and then, okay, so I love this part. The goat comes up in a little cage to, like, goad the T-Rex into, like, coming out. And so, you got to do some mental gymnastics to believe that's a thing, because what might the facility that provides these goats to this little, where is that? What does it look like? Is there a herd of goats under the cement? Mm-hmm. And a dude down there who's just like, it's your time to go, Bessie, and then hooks them up to this thing and puts it up, and then, like, the T-Rex just comes up and, you know, like, so that's, I'm like, what's the facility look like that provides these goats? Because that's a thing. And then, so they loop back around, come back to the T-Rex pen, and it's nighttime, and the storm's coming through, and the ride has stopped. And
I think the other thing that doesn't make sense to me is that they're on a track, and they've passed the T-Rex paddock.
And they're going the same direction that they were the first time.
Right. So they have already passed the visitor center?
Right. But then when the T-Rex, the T-Rex breaks through comes, presumably eats the goat. I mean, you see him eat the goat, which is, by the way, like, the fucking most bonkers scene, because you get to view it as the people in the Jeeps, and you get to look up at this giant Tyrannosaurus, just like, like one gulp eating this whole goat, and it's like, shit, it's so big, but then he breaks through the fence, right? Where he's walking to eat the goat, and then he pushes the car through that same section of fence, and there's a 100-foot cliff
Right.
there,
Yeah.
and that has always bothered me. Where I'm like, but how? Where did? Wait. What's the Millhouse line? Oh yeah. Remember that time you tried to convince me that I didn't have a goldfish? Well, why did I have the bull, Bart? Why did I have the bull? And I'm just like, why did he walk through the fence? Steven, why did he walk through the fence?
And then my response is, Mr. Burns, they're there. Shut up, little girl.
They're there. Yeah, and then begins, the craziness, that you got Grant basically in his weirdest wet dream / worst nightmare, where, like, being with the dinosaurs isn't the terrible part. The terrible part is being with the kids.
Yeah.
And for the kids, it's just the most hairy experience in the entire world. Yeah, and then it's just like scene after scene of amazing spectacles. You got the brachio sleeping in a tree, and then the brachiosaur sneezing on what's her face, and what's her name? Lex, and she comes back in the second movie. Yeah, and she's in Tremors. She's the little girl in Tremors.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Joseph, the kid that plays Tim, he has a longer career. He's still working as an actor.
Really?
Yeah, he was. He played John Deacon in the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow, who's John Deacon? Is he a Queen guy?
Member of the band.
Mm.
Like the bassist, I think.
Anywho, you got some. I mean, there low key. Samuel L. Jackson is kind of like the backbone of the quips of this whole thing. I mean, you have Jeff Goldblum, who is the one-liner dude for Jurassic Park, but Samuel L. Jackson is coming right in behind him, and he's so fed up with Nedry and his code, and you just got so many.
I gotta point out the one other inconsistency, and I don't know whether it's like there's a way you can interpret it to like work around it at all, but Hammond the entire time is saying multiple times, "We spared no expense."
Spared no expense.
Except for Dennis Nedry, he's like,
"My contract sucks.
Can you stop talking about fucking money?
Yeah,
like it's your own fault. You can't live off of what I give you." And like, you know, to Nedry's credit, they did automate an entire theme park to run from a room with 2 people in it
on a Linux system. I mean,
Unix. It's a Unix-based system.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I
Unix.
know this.
But
I always say Linux.
Linux is based in Unix, so it's okay. I'm not terribly wrong. Yeah, no. And then at the end you get a T-Rex attacking and fighting with velociraptors. Where do you get that anywhere else? It's so thick.
Some sort of an idea how thick it is.
Just real thick. Pretty thick.
That's the T-Rex chomping down on the velociraptor.
I mean, so you got so the kitchen scene with the kids hiding in the cabinets and the mirror effect. That still trips me out to this day to watch it.
Yeah.
And then make it make sense in my head as I'm watching it. Mm-hmm. Where you have Lex hiding in a cabinet that's then being reflected by a stainless steel cabinet that then the velociraptor jumps into to take a bite out of, and then she scampers away. Like the way it plays with the height of the countertops in the kitchen and the kids just crawling around on the low point. Like, who would have thought of doing that? Like, you can have a whole, 5 to 10 minute long, extremely memorable chase scene in a room, and it works because you just took them and made them crawl.
Yeah.
That's why it works. And because the floor is slippery, like it's just a cool concept, because it's like, how you've seen a cat try and take off from a dead still in your kitchen. You can't do it. It's conceptually, it's a cool thing. I don't know. What else do you got to say about Jurassic Park?
It's good, and I like it.
It is good. And you know what? I like it too. Can you think of anybody who won't like Jurassic Park?
I don't know. Some hipster douche that's going to be like, it's not that good. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And by the way, if you're that guy, don't be that guy anymore. Just stop it. Yeah, I'd say Jurassic Park is... Man, I gotta think it's the most important movie ever made, Bryce. I'm gonna say it out loud. And then you know what? The next really important movie that we watch, I'm gonna say it about that too. And I'm not gonna remember one thing. So who cares? It's gonna be okay. All right, everybody. So there it is. Patrons, thank you so much for voting on Jurassic Park. Now, let's move on to our little game called Test Your Dino DNA. That's right. So, Bryce, how much would you say you were a dinosaur kid?
Not at all, really.
What was
like
your
my
thing?
son is like huge into dinosaurs, and so I've probably got some stuff through osmosis, but I didn't have a huge dinosaur phase. I just thought they looked cool, and would get like picture books. but I didn't like.
What was your thing? Did you have an obsession?
At that age, I don't think so. I don't remember it if I did. Well, no, I probably. I mean, I was super into like G.I. Joe and Transformers. So it was
G.I. Joe.
So it was mostly that. Yeah, I think like G.I. Joe is probably the thing where it's like, I know these characters and
yeah,
like I had my own little world in my head about, doing battles and stuff. But as far as like learning scientific knowledge or having like a database of information in my head, I didn't really have anything with that.
Well, I think you'll do good at this game. I'm rooting for you. Okay, first question. These are just questions about, mostly the timeline of Earth and the biology within it. So here we go. First question. Saltosaurus was a relatively small Argentinian sauropod. In which period does it belong, Bryce?
Jurassic.
Play along at home, by the way. Let us know how you did by calling us at 682-253-4468. Big cliffhanger there. Did Bryce get it right with Jurassic? No, I'm sorry, Bryce. This was actually the Cretaceous period.
Ah, fuck.
There were no dinosaurs in the Permian. The Triassic didn't host any sauropods, and Saltosaurus is a weird sauropod due to the fact that it existed one age too late to see his big brothers. It's not a big deal. Second question, you're going to bring it back. In what third of the Mesozoic era did Herrerasaurus thrive?
That's a really good question.
I know. I came up with it.
Which third of?
In what third of the Mesozoic did the Herrerasaurus thrive?
Mesozoic.
Don't Google it.
The later, the late third, the last third.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to dock you on that because you just need to be a lot more specific. The correct answer is actually the Triassic period. The Herrerasaurus was one of the first dinosaurs. It used to dwell in the Triassic plains and mountains, and it later bred what would evolve into the great carnivores.
Well, wait, is the Triassic, isn't that the later part of the Mesozoic?
There's no way to know. Okay, 0 for 2, not a big deal. You can do this. I believe in you. This is number 3, the unusual lizard Psittacosaurus rose and fell in what age? Again, the unusual lizard Psittacosaurus rose and fell in what age? This is spelled Psittacosaurus.
Oh, the Psittacosaurus. Okay, well that's early Cretaceous.
You found my test. You bitch.
I did not.
Yes, you did. The Psittacosaurus is the parrot lizard and was the ancestor of the Protoceratops and the Ceratopsians, e.g. the Triceratops, which basically ruled the late Cretaceous herbivore world. Way to go. Good job at not finding my test and answering that based on your own knowledge of the Cretaceous period. I'm very proud of you. Number 4, you're coming back. I know you're going to do it. What period was it when the plated lizard Kentrosaurus softly stomped the earth?
Kentrosaurus?
Yeah. Where are your eyes? What are you doing? What are you looking
what?
at?
The close relative of the Barbiesaurus?
Yeah.
That's the saurus you're talking about? Kentrosaurus?
Kentrosaurus, yeah. Soft stomped.
And you want to
Softly
know
stomp.
when it lived? What period? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Well, it's apropos because it's the late Jurassic period, I believe.
Wow, Bryce, you're really bringing this back. I gotta say,
Boil me up, Daddy. It's dinner time, and I'm a little soup boy. Champa champa.
Yeah, Bryce is just chompa in at the bit. He's got it. He's coming back. He's 2 for 4, so he's coming on back. Wow, man, you know what? At the start of this whole thing, I thought this guy doesn't have any idea about any of the areas or periods of dinosaur times. But now I know he's actually dinosaur time, very smart man. Okay, 5th and final question. This takes it. In what period did the climax of the colophysis happen? Colophysis.
The colophysis. Could you spell that for me?
Yeah, COELOPHYSIS.
Oh, COEL. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
The period?
Yeah. When did the climax of the colophysis?
The climax?
Right. You sly son of a bitch.
Well, there's the Jurassic.
Oh my gosh.
Cretaceous and Triassic.
Which is it?
So
buddy?
many periods.
Clock is ticking.
I'm gonna say the Triassic period.
This is truly unbelievable. Bryce, you got that right. I have to say, I am amazed. I am amazed. This is just... He did it. Here he is. He came through. Bryce's dino DNA is as pure as it gets, baby. This is an amazing accomplishment for HMT Plus and for Bryce, quite frankly. I thought I found a test that you
I thought it was going to be hard, but apparently I am very smart.
I thought I could Google a test that you couldn't also Google.
I didn't Google the test.
No,
what are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I'm being salty, like the Saltosaurus, but I should be happy, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex. You know what they say with the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I like to say the arms.
They do like to see the arms. And you know what else they say is have a great week. Thank you for listening to Horror Movie Talk Plus. We really appreciate you and everything you do for us. We appreciate you more if you're a patron, though, or if you buy one of our shirts, sport it around, tell people about the show, share it with a friend, share it with your mom, share it with your baby cousin. And go ahead and give us a listen on Patreon at the Afterpods, which we're going to record right now. So be good to your friends, your family. Love them and your neighbor as you would yourself. And have a good week. We love you. Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing.
Is that rain? Yes, it is.
I just had to stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.
What's up?